My name is Andy Burton and I'm the chairman of the Cloud Industry Forum. We're a not-for-profit organisation that advocates the adoption of cloud-based services, and we do this by encouraging the adoption of best practice by cloud service providers to in turn provide confidence to the marketplace. Now, back in November of 2011, we conducted research across the UK which demonstrated that 53% of UK-based organisations had adopted one or more cloud-based services. What we found as the Cloud Industry Forum is that the primary drivers for that initial wave of adoption of cloud-based services among end users was all to do with the issue of flexibility. Often organisations are messaged that it should all be about cost reduction and that that's the primary reason for driving to the cloud. But what we've seen is that organisations are looking to achieve something that maybe they don't have the resources or the skills or the financial leverage to be able to implement the way that they wish to. So they're using cloud as a means to achieve a project in the most flexible way possible. The second wave of cloud-based adoption that we're seeing is being driven by cost savings. Whilst in the first wave, flexibility was the key issue and they had yet to prove that there were viable benefits. By the time they've achieved that first wave, those financial benefits are evident, and as a result, that's actually driving a more hastened approach to cloud-based services for other areas of their business. In terms of the pace of adoption of cloud-based computing in the UK, our own research has evidenced a 10% growth in the last 10 months, which is a fairly radical rate of growth, and that's for first-time adoption, so that excludes people that then go on to take further levels of cloud-based services because of the level of satisfaction they have. So in terms of net new customers, we're probably talking in the region of 12 to 15% per annum. We found that the primary decision maker for cloud-based services is the head of IT within an organisation, and that's a very important point to raise because historically, people have considered that cloud-based services would bypass the IT department, that it was easy for a business person with a credit card to go and procure capability. What we've seen is IT departments have woken up to that fact. They have actively considered cloud-based services as part of the wider IT strategy. And our research evidence that's as high as 85% of organisations in the UK now actively viewing cloud-based services when they're making a decision on how to deploy a new project. And bearing in mind that UK adoption is currently running at about 53%, you can see there's a healthy margin for growth of organisations that have yet to take up cloud-based services. When looking to move to the cloud, we found that organisations split into two camps. There are those that are looking for infrastructural services, and by that I mean technology such as storage, backup and disaster recovery capabilities for that are already running on premise, or indeed email, fairly generic capabilities that every IT department wish to have. They tend to be at the forefront of what an organisation will move to the cloud. When we look at applications, what we're tending to see there is a wave of productivity and communication tools, unified communications, collaboration tools, which are designed to enable end users to be able to work collaboratively together regardless of where they're at. So physically, cloud-based computing is the right solution for them because it enables them to network and share information and rich media in a way that they could not achieve on premise. One of the most surprising pieces of information we've gleaned as a result of the research that we've carried out is that satisfaction levels for cloud-based services is running very high indeed. What we found is 94% of organisations, when we first carried out research in February of 2011, stated based on their experience of using cloud-based services, they were happy. And that was a very high percentage to start from a first survey. We carried out the research again in November of 2011, and that percentage actually increased to 96%, demonstrating for those organisations that have made a conscious decision to use a cloud-based service, their experience has been a very positive one. Of course, there are realities that every organisation have to face when they're considering adopting cloud-based services, and there are natural barriers they have to overcome. We would typically identify those as falling into three camps. The first one is all to do with the data, so data security. How well protected will my data be if it's in a cloud service provider's data center? Data privacy, can I be confident that data won't be used for other purposes? And data sovereignty, can I be certain that my data is being retained in a jurisdiction that satisfies my regulatory or my legal requirements? So that's the first issue, is all around data. The secondary issue tends to be around connectivity. Do I have sufficient bandwidth to be able to run services in a cloud-based model? And what we found on evidence is that over 80% of organisations in the UK actually do have sufficient bandwidth to be able to run cloud-based services. And the final aspect is the more intangible one of trust. If I'm going to move my IT operations from on-premise into the cloud, who is it that I can actually trust to do that on my behalf?